Oscar Hasanali, and I'm a psychotherapist by profession. And I've been working with people's health problems or psychiatric problems, psychological problems, issues of family and the works, everything to do with people's mental health for the past 35 years. Yasmin was all the time complaining that she has headaches and she has heartbeats. They checked it out and she couldn't sleep and she had tummy aches now and again. She had, diseases all the time. And she went to the NHS there, and the NHS checked her out for about 6 months. They did all sort of tests and all that, and they remitted her to me. So when she came to me, she told me, look, I am somatically sick, I'm physically sick, and I do not need to talk to you. So the agreement was that if you want the NHS to help you out, and if you still want your sick leave money, you will talk to me. So let's talk. Let's just generally have a nice talk. We can get to know each other. And she was remitted for 10 talks. So we started talking, just normal things here and there. She's an administrator at City Council, kind of house, semi-government office there, where she had worked for a good 10 years, and then now they were reorganizing the company. So then there was somebody who was going to get a higher post. So Yasmin started working very, very hard. She wanted that post badly. So she kept working, and there were 2 others, so they were competing. And she everything was the work. She lives alone, and then suddenly this pain started coming, heartbeats, this and that. And when we started talking about the work, because nighttime is the time when you are with you. That is the only time you are alone, especially just before sleeping, right? So that is why she couldn't sleep. And so we started talking about what thoughts do you have, what is happening to you. And she told me that these 2 other ladies, they are my very best friend, my colleagues, and now I don't know what to do. I'm working very hard, and I know the colleague is a good friend to the boss, this, that, and I'm working so hard. I'm just doing this, and and I've been missing a lot of other things, and my parents are worried. So we started talking about how important the job was. And it became a prestige for her. It was just that that's something that she wants. Her demands on herself were very, very high. What happened with her was that she would always worry what is happening ahead. Kale sutha se. And that used to give her anxiety all the time. Demands from her parents were different, because Yasmin had a brother, Musa. And every time Yasmin would do something, the parents would say, Yasmin kari nakse ne average. Right? Now this wouldn't give Yasmin a chance to say, so what happened to her, she became very creative as a person, because there was no way she could refuse that she can't do an assignment that is given. So this went on into her work and all that. Crisis came when she was there. She was very unsecure. She was very unsecure on whether she's going to get this job or not. And after, I think, the 6th session, I actually asked her to ask her mates, are you guys also interested in this job? And they said, no, we are expecting you to take it. See? But her insecurity gave her this problem. If I would talk about triggers, is maybe when you take people for granted, and people are brought up in a way that they have been taken granted, is where problems lie. So sometimes we need to ask in a nice way, તારી પાસે કદાચ ટાઈમ છે મને આ કરી આપને, even if you know the person, rather than saying આ કરી નાખતો, and if you say that, you need to see the body language on what is going on. You get me? So I think we need to change our ways of sometimes talking to people whom we know are good at things, because they tend to have difficulty of saying no.
My name is Shabir Hussain Khalfan. I'm the CEO of Fikrafia, an NGO promoting well-being and fighting stigma around mental health. By profession, I'm a psychotherapist and a national trainer for Mental Health First Aid UK, and also Mental Health First Aider. I'm also NLP practitioner, and I'm certified from British Psychology Society for Psychometric Tools Administrator as well. The first client that I would like to discuss is a youth who was going through substance misuse or addiction. This was a young man around 14 years, and he was a very bubbly, energetic youth. However, over the time, the parents thought that he was becoming snappy and agitated all the time, shouting at them, and had hunger bouts and some of the behaviors which they hadn't seen. So he was quite aloof, and he would go out at odd timings, and the parents were concerned, and they came to me, and we started discussing. And through the journey that I went through with him, I realized actually it came to my light that he had started cigarette smoking, and it was not something that he enjoyed, but rather it was a peer pressure at the school level, because when he was not smoking, he was taken as not belonging to the group, he was alienated, he was bullied and labeled, and to be part of that group that acted as macho or the doers of the school, he had to join the team. And in that, because he was not also enjoying, but it was just done to be part of the group, he ended up having another addiction, because when I talk of addiction, basically it's not just substance misuse, but there are many addictions. And he had addiction of screen time or cell phone, whereby he would seek validation from people with how many likes he gets, and he would post his pictures gymming or something like that, and every time he would want his phone as a security to look into it. We managed to highlight to him what reality was, and over the time with the therapy, he recovered, and he regained his marks, and he kind of stopped wanting to belong and stuck to his value more. He realized what were his values. That was the learning, and I think it was an eye-opener. And the message to the parents would be that, as Imam says, after 7 years, 7, 14, 21, after 14 especially, let them be your advisor, let them be your friends, share, be open to them, so that they can tell you what challenges they are facing, and don't forcefully make decisions for them. Rather, nurture them and empower them to make decisions, so they can decide their own future with your guidance and in the light of religion. I would like to share another client that came across in my journey, and this was a lady whose marriage had dissolved, or she was divorcee, and she had children, and she was staying with her parents again. She continued, she was working, and somehow she was not aware of the help she required. She had taken it as a default, and thinking that anybody going through separation or divorce would live such a life with all the stress, and that's what she called it at that time. But she was brought by a colleague with the pretext of just talking it out, and over the time, actually, she had earlier been to a psychiatrist, and she was diagnosed with depression. When I talked to her, she had total feeling of apathy, thoughts of despair all the time. overwhelming sadness, feeling of not worth it, anhedonia, or not having pleasure in the activities she used to enjoy earlier, and self-blame and guilt all the time that her children are not getting what they should because she decided on this move, and also because the family was supporting her, so she thought she was a burden on them, and constantly there was a guilt, and she was very low. However, because she had also to earn, she doesn't come from a very rich background, although the family was supportive. She had to earn, so she was working, but she was just on kind of autopilot, basic activities that she did. She couldn't make decisions, she couldn't focus, and she was just basically totally numbed.
A girl who was brought to me by her mother, and she was suffering from insomnia. She could not sleep, she could not eat, and that was happening especially near her exams. And after talking to her, I found out that basically what was bothering her was the expectations. Expectations from her teachers, expectations from schools, and because she was a very bright student, everybody was looking up to her to perform, and that could put a lot of pressure on her. And she started having this belief that I'm not going to perform, I'm not going to meet the expectations, I'm not good enough. And this was what I found out, was that it's there, out there a lot in our students, the pressure and expectations from parents, from teachers, from the school. And that is something, if you are not resilient as a youth, that can really affect you. So when I talked to her, what I found out was this belief that she has that I'm not going to be good enough was stopping her to perform. She was a very bright student during the whole year, but as soon as she comes up with the dates of her exams, she would freeze. And though she knew her content, she knew what she had to do, she would just not be able to perform. And sometimes that disabled them. If you are not given that support, if they are not given, it's unconsciously as parent, as teacher, we want them to perform, but we have to see like how they are taking it. We normally tend to think like if a student is bright, they don't have any problems, right? It's not true. They actually get a lot of pressures from everybody around them, and we have to be careful about that. Okay, so this is for a very good friend of mine who lost a loved one, and though whenever I used to ask him, "Are you okay?" it was like, "Yes, I'm fine, I'm okay." However, what I noticed was, and all my as a group of friends, what we noticed was that he was becoming very angry very fast. He was snappy. He could not focus. He was not productive the way he used to be, and he was in denial that no, I'm fine. Whenever we used to talk to him, I said, "No, I'm fine." You know, that we do not realize when we lose somebody in our family. So many people are around at that time, but after that, when everybody leaves, there is no support system in our community. So my message is for these two cases is that pressure, expectations that we have, our expectations should not be transferred to our children. Every child is different, every child works in a different way, and we should not put that pressure on them, but give them that space to work their way out and be able to come to you and say, okay, you know this, and accept our Sometimes it's our own wish that we put on our children, and that sometimes really affect them. And the second thing is like whenever there is a loss, please do work on yourselves, because there is a process to any loss, whether it's a loved one, whether it's a job, whether anything, any loss that you may incur, it is going to bring you a sense of you're going to be feeling down. So please reach out, talk to someone, and work through it when it is time, before it gets into a more serious problem like depression or anxiety or a trauma. Yeah? Thank you.